In this tutorial, we are going to make this cute little chicken in the egg. It's going to be super easy. We're barely using any editing whatsoever. And before we start, I'd just like to ask you to hit like and subscribe to help growing my channel. And let's jump right into it. I'm in a new startup file. And first of all, I'm going to click on my light to select it. Holding down Shift, click on the camera to select both. Press M to move to new collection, call it Cam and Light and click on Create. And here in my outliner, I'm just going to hide my Cam and Light folder so they are not in the way. Then I'll click on my default cube and press X and click on Delete because I don't need it. I will be using a UV sphere, so press Shift A to add Mesh UV sphere. And I'll press N so this transform panel will pop up under the item. And now I'm going to scale down my item. So press S to scale it down. And I want it to be about 10 centimeters or less. 8 centimeters, I think that's a good size for an egg. And let's zoom in with the wheel of my mouse and press N to make this panel disappear. I'll also press Ctrl A and apply the scale. So the scale will be uniform no matter what edit I'll do to it. And then I'll press Tab to go to edit mode. You can also change the modes up here. So that's object mode, that's edit mode. Now I'm in vertex mode and I'm going to turn on my X-ray here. You can also press Alt Z to come in and out of X-ray mode. And I'm going to turn on my proportional editing. Now I'll box select these top vertices and press G and I'll scroll with the wheel of my mouse until this gray circle appears. That's the circle of influence for the proportional editing, and whatever is inside this circle will be affected by the movement I make. So I press G and now I'll press Z because I want to move those vertices on the Z axis. So I'll start lifting them up and you can see as I change the size of the circle of influence with the wheel of my mouse, it changes the shape. So I think that that's a good egg shape. I quite like it. So I'll just click to confirm the movement. And then I'll turn off my proportional editing and come out of X-ray. I'll press 3 to go to face mode. You can also change it up here. And I'm going to use my knife tool to make some cuts on this egg so it will look like it's been cracked. So to use the knife tool, I'll press K. This little knife appears. And wherever is that blue dot, that's where you start cutting. So to cut, you have to press your left mouse button. So just click, and then you can start randomly make some clicks around the egg. Let's make some bigger ones. And when you get here to the end, just press Enter to confirm the cut. And then with the middle mouse button pressed, you can move the scene around. And then you press K again, find that spot, click, and then just carry on cutting just this random shape. When you get to the end, enter again, go around and do the same. So press K and start cutting. And then I just reached the end where I started. So I find the point where I started and just click and press enter to confirm it. So that looks great. Let's press 1 on your numpad to go back to front view. And now what I want is to do the same up here. You can follow this pattern, but it's not really necessary. It will still look good if you don't follow it. So again, press the K button for the knife tool, find the spot where you want to start and just make some random cuts around your egg. When you go around, hit enter. With the middle mouse button, move your scene and then just carry on cutting. Let's make it nice and random. Make some bigger ones. And when you get around, just connect the first and the last dot and press enter to confirm it. Press 1 on your numpad to go back to front view. And now I'm going to hold down my Alt key and click on one of these edges to select the whole loop. And let's see if it works here as well, although I made some cuts there, so I don't think it will. But if I press Shift Alt and click on one of these edges in between, then it should select the whole face loop. But because I made these cuts, it's not going to select it. I do it here as well. But the other way you can do this to select these between faces is to press C for circle select and then just click on the faces you want to select. And then you have to right click out of the shape somewhere here to confirm, and then C again, select the ones you missed out. And then click away to confirm it, C again. If you hold down the mouse button, then you can just move your mouse around and it will select everything you touch. And then I'll click away. And now what I'll do is the ones I missed out on, I'll just hold down Shift and just click on them to select these little small ones here. I just speed up the footage. Here we go. I think I selected everything. Let's go back to front view. Press X, that's for delete. And you want to click on faces to delete these faces. And now you have this cracked egg shape. Let's press Tab to go back to object mode. And you go to your modifiers, to this wrench icon. Add the modifier, generate, and you want to hit solidify. So you can see it's made the shape so much thicker. So what we need is change the thickness to make it thinner than that. So I'll change it to 0.001 and that looks so much better. And then right click, shade auto smooth. Let's press 1 on your numpad to go to front view. And what I'll do is I'll separate the top of the egg from the bottom. So I'll tab back into edit mode and press P to separate, and I choose by loose parts. And now if I tab back into object mode, I have 2 different objects. I want to select this one and then just press G and Z and move it up a little bit to somewhere around here. But because this was one object a second ago, my origin point of the top part is down here. So what I'm going to do is right click, set origin to geometry, and that will snap my origin point up there. And now I want to add the chicken, which is going to be a very, very simple shape made out of a cube. So Shift A to add mesh cube, press S to scale it down to around this size, Ctrl 3 to add the subdivision surface modifier, which will appear here. And you want to set the render level to 3 as well. So for the subdivision surface modifier, Ctrl 3 is the shortcut. Press Ctrl A to apply the scale and then tab into edit mode so we can start working on this shape. I'm going to turn my X-ray back on and select this top face and press G and Z to bring it down to around here. And for a start, I'm going to make a loop cut right here in the middle. So Ctrl R for a loop cut and double click to confirm the position and the number of the loop cut. And then I'll press S and scale this loop cut up to around this size. Then I'll select these bottom edges. So I'm in edge mode now because when you do a loop cut, it puts you into edge mode. And then I'll press S to scale this one down like that. And this one as well. So box select it and press S to scale it down. That's great. And now I'll press E to extrude and I'll extrude the shape up to somewhere around here. And then holding down Alt, I want to select this whole edge loop, not just one edge. So hold down Alt and click on one of the edges and that will select the whole edge loop for you. Go back to front view with 1 on your numpad and press S to scale it down to around this size. And then I think I'll press GG just to slide it down to somewhere around here. And then I'll do 2 supporting loop cuts. So Ctrl R here, 1 click, and then pull it down here somewhere. So make sure it doesn't overlap with the one below, but it's really close to it. And I'll press S to scale this one up just a little bit. And then I'll do one here as well. So Ctrl R, 1 click, pull it up almost all the way, but it doesn't overlap. Click again to confirm, and then just S to scale it up a little bit. We can scale it up a little bit more to around here. Now I'll do a loop cut here as well. So Ctrl R, double click to confirm it, press S to scale it up just a little bit. And then this top edge or these top edges I'll box select and press S to scale it down to fairly small so it doesn't overlap with the egg. This one, I'll alt click on it and press GG and slide it to around here. And now I'll come out of X-ray mode and just check that my chicken doesn't overlap anywhere with the egg. And then tap back into object mode, right click, shade smooth. And that's my little chicken done. And I think what I'll do with this top part of the egg, I'll just press S to scale on the Z and just make it a little bit smaller. Like that. Press 3 on my numpad to go to side view. Press G and Z just a little bit and R to rotate it and then just put it into position like that. So it looks a little bit like a little hat rather than an egg. The next thing we'll do is add some grass under the chicken. So first of all, I'll box select everything and press G and Z and bring my chicken above the X-axis. Press Shift S and click on cursor to world origin, and that will snap my 3D cursor into the world origin like that. I press Shift A to add mesh and I'll add the circle. I'll change the vertices to 64. So in this pop-up menu, before you do any changes to this circle, you can change the settings. Now I'll press S and scale it down to around this size, maybe just a little bit bigger like that. Control A to apply the scale, and then I'll tab into edit mode. I'll zoom in just a little bit so you can see. So now I have those 62 vertices. And what I want to do is extrude it upwards to around here. So press E to extrude on the Z like that. I'll turn on X-ray mode so you can see. And that's perfect. And now I'll press S to scale and I'll scale it up to around this size. So it's around the egg. And I'll box select these and just press S to scale it down just a little bit. Make sure it doesn't overlap. And then I'll box select these top ones, go to my select menu and click on checker deselect. And this will select every second vertex for me. And then I'll press GG and slide them down almost all the way like that. So that's going to be my grass. I'll tap back into object mode. And what I'll do is I'll add the solidify modifier. So add modifier, generate solidify. And I'll change the thickness to 0.00. Let's try 2. That's a little bit too much. So 0.001. And that's perfect. Right click, shade auto smooth. I press 7 on my numpad to go to top view. I'll go to X-ray mode and then I'll duplicate this object. So Shift D to duplicate and I'll press R to rotate and I rotate the duplicates like this so they don't overlap with the other ones. I'll come out of X-ray mode and now at the moment they are overlapping because they are on top of each other. But what I'll do is with the duplicate, I'll tab into edit mode, go back to X-ray mode, box select these bottom vertices and press S to scale it up slightly like that. And then I'll select the top vertices and press S as well to scale them. And these ones, I'll press G and Z and just bring it down a little bit like that. And then tab back into object mode. And that's my little grass right there. And then I'll just zoom out a little bit, select my chicken and press G and Z and bring it down like that. So it does look pretty good. I might just select both of them and then just press S to scale on the Z just to make it a little bit taller. And with this one, I'll tab back into edit mode and then just press S to scale to bring it out a little bit. Let's go to X-ray mode and just have a look. And maybe just G and Z to bring it down just a little bit more. And then tab back into object mode. And that looks okay. I'll zoom in on my chicken a little bit. Shift right click somewhere around here to give it an eye. So press Shift A to add mesh and we add another UV sphere. Press S to scale it down nice and small. Maybe a little bit further. 7 on your numpad to go to top view and S to scale on the Y to make it flat like that. And R to rotate so it lines up with the head. 3 on your numpad to go to side view and press R to rotate it so it lines up from this side as well. Let's just zoom in a little bit and that looks great. So that's going to be the eye of the chicken. Right click, Shade Smooth. And then what I'll do is I'll add a mirror modifier to mirror it on the other side of the head. So go to your modifiers, add modifier, generate, mirror. And right now it's mirroring on its own on the x-axis. So what we want is to move the mirrored object to the other side of the head. And for that, click on this eyedropper tool, hover it over the chicken's head and just click on it. And that will mirror it to the other side. And now what I'll do is I'll do a duplicate. So Shift D to duplicate and press S to scale down the duplicate to small like this, and then G and move it somewhere here. Let's go to side view and zoom in, and then just R to rotate it a little bit so it lines up. Let's have a look from top view, and from top view it looks okay. So let's go back to front view, Shift right click somewhere in between the two eyes, Shift A to add, mesh, and we'll add the cube. So we will use a cube to make the beak of the chicken. Press S to scale it down. I ran out of the line, so I'll press S again. Make it nice and small like that. Let's zoom in. And I think G and X to move it somewhere around here. We can actually press N to go to this panel and set the X location to 0. And that will snap it right in the middle. N to make that panel disappear. And then Ctrl A to apply the scale. I'll move my 3D cursor somewhere out of the way. So Shift right click somewhere there so we can see the cube. Let's tab into edit mode and we can start shaping this object. So I'll go into X-ray mode and try to do it from perspective view so you can see it. So first of all, I'm going to do a loop cut here. So Ctrl R to do a loop cut and double click to confirm it. And I'll do one here as well. So Ctrl R again, double click to confirm it. I press 2 to go to edge mode. So the one I just made is already selected, and then I press Shift Alt to select this one, and I press S to scale it up like that. So it doesn't need to be too much. I select this one in the middle, press Ctrl B to bevel it, and I'll do a bevel like this, maybe a little bit thinner like that. I'll minimize this window, and with that face loop selected, I press X to delete faces. Now I'll go to vertex mode, select these two vertices, and then press G and Y and just bring them out a little bit like that. And then go back to edge mode, select these two edges and press GG to slide them backwards like that. And then I'll do the same on the bottom. So GG, and then I want to select these two edges, GG on the Y and slide them backwards like that. And then these two, press GG on the Y and slide them backwards. It doesn't want to slide properly for me. Let's try it from here. Okay, let's do it individually because it doesn't want to work. So GG, do this one first, and then this one, GG, and slide it to around there. Here we go. Now let's come out of X-ray mode. So that's the little beak of my chicken. I'll tap back into object mode and I'll add the solidify modifier. So add modifier, generate, solidify. Change the thickness to 0.001. So that's perfect. And then Ctrl 3 to add the subdivision surface modifier and make sure that Brando level is set to 3. And then right click, shade smooth. And that's my beak for my little chicken. I think I might just scale it down a little bit to around this size, and then S to scale on the X to make it a little bit bigger like that. And that's pretty cute. So that's my chicken pretty much done. All we need to do now is to add some colors. To add the colors, first of all, I'm going to add the background. So Shift S, cursor toward origin, and I'll select everything, press G and Z and just move it on the X axis. And then Shift A to add mesh, and I'll add the plane. 7 on your numpad to go to top view and just press S to scale it down a little bit. And then G and Y somewhere around here. So make sure that the origin point is behind your chicken. Ctrl A to apply the scale and then tab into edit mode. Ctrl R and we'll do a loop cut right here in the middle and double click to confirm it. Then I'll select this edge that's further away from the chicken. Numpad 3 to go to side view and G to lift this edge to a 90 degrees. So there's like this background wall behind the chicken. And then select this middle edge, Control B to bevel it. And with the wheel of your mouse, you can add some extra edges to it, like that. Step back into object mode, right click, shade smooth, and that's going to be the background for the chicken. So that's great. And now we can go to the shading workspace. Here, I'll optimize my screen. So I'll move my mouse here into this corner until the crosshair appears. I'll click and move it towards the left and join those areas. And I'll do the same here. Join these two as well. I'll pull out this window, zoom in on my scene like that. And also I'm going to change the viewport to rendered view. So here with these 4 spheres, the last one is rendered view. And I'll go to my render properties. And if you're using the Eevee render engine, then make sure that ray tracing is turned on. I will be using Cycles and I will be using my GPU. So this one is a more realistic render engine, but it does require a stronger computer. And if you're in Cycles, click on denoise and set the time limit to 2 or 4 seconds. Now, first of all, we are going to set up a background, which will be an HDRI, which will provide some extra light to our scene. So here from this menu, change the shader to the world shader. Zoom out here a little bit. You have these 2 nodes, background node and world output. So at the moment, this background node provides the light, which is, it doesn't really provide much light. You can change the strength of it, but what we'll do is we'll add an HDRI image, which you can download from polyhaven.com. Shift A to add texture, environment texture, put it here, and you can plug it in color to color and it will turn pink. And when you click on open image, you can find the HDRI that you download from polyhaven.com. So it's free to download, and the one I'm using is this Minddump Flat. And the moment I open it, you can see it lit up my screen like that. So that looks great. Now I'll go back to my object shader, select my background, and I'll edit a new material, call it background. And you can choose whatever color you want. It's absolutely up to you. I sort of went with this peachy, orangey, pink color. This is the color code I used if you want to use the same. So that looks pretty good in my opinion. And I pulled up the roughness all the way to 1. Now let's select the grass, edit a new material, call it grass. And for the color, again, you can choose whatever color you want. I went with this sort of pastel green color. And again, I pulled up the roughness all the way to 1. I think what I'm going to do is I'll select both of my graphs and press S to scale and then Shift Z and just make it a little bit bigger like that. That looks good. And then I select the grass that isn't colored and Shift select the grass that is colored, press Ctrl L and link materials. So that looks great. Now let's select one of the eggshells, edit a new material, call it eggshell. And for the eggshell, I added a whitish eggshell color because my chicken is going to be yellow, so I wanted it to stay around the white region of the color wheel. And then I'll click on this part of the egg and then shift click on the one that's already colored, Ctrl L, link materials, and then just pull up the roughness all the way to 1. Now for the chicken, if you click on it to select it, edit a new material, call it chicken, and I added it a saturated yellow color like that and pull up the roughness to 1. Now we have the big part of the eye. This one is, I call eye black, and change the color of it to almost black. So pull down the slider and pull up the roughness to 1. And then we can do the small part of the eye, edit a new material, call it eye white, leave it on white color, and we can pull down the roughness a little bit so it's a little bit shiny. And finally, the beak, click on it, edit a new material, call it beak, and I added it an orangey color, and I left the roughness on 0.5. So that's it. Let's go back to the layout workspace. You can click on rendered view. And I think I'm just going to grab this grass, tab into edit mode, turn on my X-ray, go to vertex mode, box select all of this and press S to scale. Let's have a look now. And then I hover over the other part of the grass, press Alt Q so it's selected. Again, box select all of them and press S to scale to make the bottom a little bit thinner and tab back into object mode. Let's have a look. I mean, there's still a little bit of a gap. So I think what I'll do is I'll shift select these two and then Ctrl J to join them. And then tab into edit mode. Still in X-ray mode, I'll select all of these bottom vertices and press S to scale it down like that. I'll come out of X-ray mode just to see, into object mode, and that looks better. Right, let's set up our camera. So click on this little camera icon and that will take you to camera view. Now, obviously, it's a very small scene. So what we want is lock the camera with this tab and zoom in like that. And then you can strafe around your scene and set up your camera however you like it. I think this is a pretty good setup, so I'm going to leave it like this. And now I want to add some light. Now for that, I'm going to find my Canon light collection, make it visible. And first of all, I'm going to select my light and press X to delete it. And then go to top view, move my 3D cursor somewhere around here. So shift right click there, shift A to add light, and I'll add an area light. Let's go to side view and press R to rotate it at my scene and press S to scale to make it nice and small, and then G and Z to move it up. Go to top view and just press R to rotate it towards your chicken. And then go to this light bulb icon and change the strength to around 0.8 maybe. Let's go to camera view just to see. And change the color towards the yellows, something like that. The spread you can also change maybe to 90 degrees. And it's still a little bit too strong, I think. I'll turn it into a disc light, maybe just bring down the size of it a little bit and then bring down the power to around 0.2. That looks much better. And now I'm going to go to my rendered properties, scroll down to color management, leave the view on AGX, and the look, I'll change it to punchy. So it added some contrast to my scene. I can go back to my light properties and maybe just change the strength of it just a little bit. 0.3, that looks good. And then let's go to top view, duplicate this light. So shift it to duplicate it, bring it here, and R to rotate it this way. Let's go back to camera view, press G and Z to move it on the Z axis and just R to rotate it at your scene. For this, I change the color towards the pink, change the spread to 180 degrees, and maybe we can bring down the power to 0.1. And then let's go to top view, duplicate this light. So shift D to duplicate it and bring it behind the chicken, R to rotate it, maybe G and Z to bring it down, and then R to rotate it and rotate it from top view as well. S to scale on the X to make it bigger. Let's go back to camera view, G and Z to bring it up, R to rotate it. This one, you can change the strength, make it a little bit stronger. Maybe bring down the size just a little bit. And for the color, let's make it nice and blue or purple. That looks good. Maybe just bring down the strength a little bit. And we can change the spread to 90. Let's try S to scale and then G and Y to bring it closer to the chicken. Let's go to top view and put it behind the chicken like that. And that's much better. Maybe add some strength to it. That's great. I think this light is a little bit too strong, so I'll bring it down to about 0.1. Let's try 0.15, and that looks good. So once you're happy with the settings, all you have to do is go to your render tab, click on render image, or you can just press F12. And that's it. That's my image done. That's my little chicken. So if you found this tutorial useful, make sure you hit like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next tutorial.